Did you know?
Traian Square, also known as the Square of Sorrow, is located at the very heart of Fabrik neighborhood. In the past, it was called Kossuth Ter and Hauptplatz. It was developed by military engineers in 1740 and it is a smaller replica of the Union Square. Its main role was housing the daily markets and the weekly fairs. During those days, merchants not only from Timisoara but from all over Romania came and sold their most prized possessions like flour, beer, tobacco, gunpowder and silk.
Millennium Church takes its name from the fact that it was built 1,000 years after the foundation of the Hungarian state. Two towers soar on the sides of the building, guarding the front gate. The left tower houses the church bell, which weighs almost 3 tons, and the right tower houses the chapel of Saint Antoine of Padua. Although its importance gets lost in the history, the statue in front of the church representing John Nepomuk is the oldest statue in the west part of the country.
The Steiner Palace was built between 1901 and 1902, owned by Max Steiner, a successful businessman at the time. The owner of a coal factory whose name is also linked to the construction of another famous building in Timisoara. The style in which the palace is built is called Art Nouveau. It is said that the vet school has carried out its activity for many years in this building. To this day, you can still see the Roman numbers representing the student classes scrapped in the window frames. In spite of its poor conservation status, Steiner Palace continues to be one of the most spectacular buildings from Timisoara.
Are you curious to know why the Palace of Stefania is also known as the House of Monkeys? Believe it or not, everything started with a fight concerning what types of statues should be displayed on the second level of the building. The local councillors provided the money for the construction and as such they wanted their faces to be represented on the statues. Unfortunately, they had an argument with the sculptor and on the day of inauguration, the councillors realized that they have been associated with some hideous animals. In the end, the people's opinion won and decided that the faces of the statues were much prettier than the councillors at the time.
Approximately 1 century ago, the Jews from the Fabrik area organized a lottery. The winner of the lottery built what we know today as the Fabrik Synagogue. Unfortunately, because most of Jews left Timisoara, the synagogue closed at the end of the communist period in 1985. In 2009, it was given to Timisoara's National Theatre so it could be transformed into a show venue, but this never happened.
Mercury Palace originates in the 20th century and is an intricately carved edifice with a dense history of noble dwellers. Its name derives from Mercury the god, who is the guardian of trade, and its statue crowns the top of the building. The founder of the palace was a renowned businessman of that period named Bela Fiatska. He demanded that the palace should depict an Art Nouveau architectural style, very famous at that time.
150 years ago, in 1868, the artist's house was finished. It was built by the bricks manufacturer Joseph Kunz, like many other buildings in this area. After his death, the house remained to his wife. 50 years later, the building was housing the workshops of some of the greatest artists of that time, like Romul Ladea, Ferdinand Galas, and Aurel Brăilean. After the Second World War, in the attic of the building were taking place dance classes held by Elizabeth Cato Pleichmann.
The Karl Kunz Palace, completed in 1903, was the residence of one of the Kunz brothers. The palace holds its name to these days. Joseph Kunz set up a breath factory in Timisoara, building most of the buildings in the factory neighborhood. The architecture style is remarked by floral ornaments, some of which deteriorated over time. At the same time, we can observe 2 angels guarding the gate, the legends saying that the angel on the right saw the good people entertaining and the angel on the left the bad ones.
This building, unlike the others, is not a palace or a church, but its historical and cultural value matches that of the others. It is the Apollo Cinema, built in 1909. The building is housed in Parcul Poporului. This is the second cinema developed by Joseph Ecker Jr. The first one was Capitol Cinema.
All the ticket revenue was donated to the nurse houses and orphanages in the area. Nowadays, the building is not a cinema anymore and it's going to be a clinic. Could you imagine yourself experiencing movies over 100 years ago?
At the inauguration of this high school, there was only one 5th grade and one 9th grade. The school was located in the City National College at the time. All the subjects were taught English. After 1990, when the students' number grew, the school moved to its current location. Before that, the high school building was a hat factory, and what is known today as the primary school was a non-house owned by Millennium Church. In time, the school stopped teaching all the subjects in English, but today it is the only bilingual English from Timish country. What would you think about learning everything in English?